Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope you're doing well. Doing my videos a little early today because we've had a horrible heat wave and it's been making me quite ill. Got to 100 degrees the other day and it really made me quite nauseous and lethargic. So I'm doing these a little bit earlier in the day with the fan on me before the sun starts cooking me like an egg. Okay, we are in Sahih Bukhari, Volume 1, the Book of the Adhan. Let's begin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The children are playing. They have toys. The toddler, she is in a mood. Okay, let's begin. Narrated Anas bin Malik, may Allah be pleased with him. I never offered prayers behind any imam, a salah prayer lighter and more perfect than that behind the Prophet, peace be upon him. And he used to cut it short whenever he heard the cries of a child, lest he should put the child's mother to trial. Narrated Anas bin Malik, may Allah be pleased with him. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, when I start as-salah, the prayer, I intend to prolong it. But on hearing the cries of a child, I cut short the salah prayer, because I know that the cries of the child will incite its mother's passions. Yeah, when you hear a little one crying, it's quite a lot. They have a newborn babe, my neighbors, and when I hear it cry, I always get this anxiety, like, oh, poor little one, but it's quite normal when they are that little to cry because they're new to the world. Narrated Anas bin Malik, may Allah be pleased with him. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, whenever I start as-salah, the prayer, I intend to prolong it, but on hearing the cries of a child, I cut it short, because I know that the cries of a child will incite the mother's passions. So this kind of shows that he led the women in prayers. They were there. Chapter 66. If one offers salah prayer and then leads the people in salah. Narrated Jabir bin Abdullah, may Allah be pleased with him. Muad used to offer salah prayer with the Prophet, peace be upon him, and then go and lead his people tribe in the salah. Chapter 67. One who repeats the takbir, Allahu Akbar, of the imam, so that the people may hear it. Narrated Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, when the Prophet, peace be upon him, became ill in his fatal illness, someone came to inform him about as-salah, the prayer. And the Prophet, peace be upon him, told him to tell Abu Bakr to lead the people in salah prayer. I said, Abu Bakr is a soft-hearted man, and he stands for the salah in your place. He would weep and would not be able to recite the Quran. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, tell Abu Bakr to lead the salah. I said the same as before. He, peace be upon him, repeated the same order, and on the third or the fourth time he said, you women are the companions of Joseph. Tell Abu Bakr to lead the salah. So Abu Bakr led the salah, and meanwhile the Prophet, peace be upon him, felt better and came out to help with the help of two men. As if I see him just now dragging his feet on the ground. When Abu Bakr saw him, he tried to retreat, but the Prophet, peace be upon him, beckoned him to carry on. Abu Bakr retreated a bit, and the Prophet, peace be upon him, sat on his left side. Abu Bakr was repeating the takbir, Allahu Akbar, of Allah's Messenger for the people to hear. Chapter 68. If a person follows the imam and the others follow that person, then it is all right. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, you should follow me, and the people behind you should follow you in prayers. Narrated Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her. When Allah's Messenger became seriously ill, Bilal came to inform him about the salah prayer. He said, tell Abu Bakr to lead the people in the salah. I said, O Allah's Messenger, Abu Bakr is a soft-hearted man, and if he stands in your place, he would not be able to make the people hear him. Will you order Umar to lead the Salah? The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, Tell Abu Bakr to lead the people in Salah. Then I said to Hafsa, Tell him Abu Bakr is a soft-hearted man, and if he stands in his place, he would not be able to make the people hear him. Would you order Umar to lead the Salah prayer? Hafsa did so. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, Indeed, you women are the companions of Yusuf Joseph. Tell Abu Bakr to lead the people in the Salah prayer. So Abu Bakr stood for the Salah prayer. In the meantime, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, felt better and came out with the help of 2 persons. And both of his legs were dragging on the ground till he entered the mosque. When Abu Bakr heard him coming, he tried to retreat. But Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, beckoned him to carry on. So the Prophet, peace be upon him, came and sat by the side of Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr was offering the Salah prayer while standing, and Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, was leading the Salah prayer while sitting. Abu Bakr was following the Prophet, peace be upon him, and the people were following Abu Bakr in the Salah prayer. Here we see his legs were dragging on the ground. It's a lot of dedication to prayer. Being so ill to the point where you have to be brought in that way. Lots of dedication and passion. Chapter 69. Can the Imam depend on the people saying if he is in doubt about a certain matter? Narrated Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him. Once Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, offered 2 rak'ah instead of 4, and finished his prayer. Dhu Yadain asked him whether the number of rak'ah in the Salah had been reduced or he had forgotten. Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, asked the people whether Dhul Yadain was telling the truth. The people replied in the affirmative. Then Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, stood up, offered the remaining 2 rak'ah, and then finished his Salah with taslim, and then said, Allahu Akbar, and performed 2 prostrations of sahw, like ordinary prostrations, or a bit longer. Narrated Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, the Prophet, peace be upon him, offered 2 rak'ah of duhur prayer instead of 4, and he was told that he had offered 2 rak'ah only. Then he offered 2 more rak'ah and finished them with the taslim, followed by 2 prostrations of sahw. Chapter 70. If the Imam weeps in as-salah the prayers, will his salah be valid? Abdullah bin Shaddad said, I heard Umar weeping while I was in the last row and Umar was reciting, I only complain of my grief and sorrow to Allah. V 1286. Narrated Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, the mother of the faithful believers. Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, in his last illness said, Tell Abu Bakr to lead the people in the Salah prayer. I said, if Abu Bakr stood in your place, he would not be able to make the people hear him because of his weeping. So please order Umar to lead the people in the Salah. He said, Tell Abu Bakr to lead the people in as-salah the prayer. I said to Hafsa, say to him, Abu Bakr is a soft-hearted man, and if he stood in your place, he would not be able to make the people hear him because of his weeping. So order Umar to lead the people in Salah. Hafsa did so, but Allah's Messenger said, stop or keep quiet. Indeed, you women are the companions of the Prophet Yusuf Joseph. Tell Abu Bakr to lead the people in the prayer. Hafsa said to me, I never got any good from you. This one was always interesting because it kind of shows how she can kind of how Aisha can lead Hafsa to stuff. And it is interesting that a prophet, peace be upon him, married two of the companion's daughters. It's like very tight-knit close. 71. Straightening the rows at the time of Iqamah and after it immediately. Narrated An-Nu'man bin Bashir, may Allah be pleased with him. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, straighten your rows, or Allah will alter your faces. And so here it says, this is a severe warning that if you do not straighten your rows in salah, prayers, Allah may change your faces to that of an animal, a donkey, etc., and make them like the backs of necks. Okay, so rows, straightening the rows. I remember that one. I remember the other hadith where a man's chest was like kind of more out, and then the Prophet, I believe it was him, peace be upon him, like pushed him back a little, like so it could be a straight shot, and it does look so wonderfully organized in uniform. Narrated Anas, may Allah be pleased with him, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, straighten your rows, for I see you from behind my backs. So that one was by Anas, and the other one was by An-Nu'man bin Bashir. Chapter 72, facing the Imam towards his followers while straightening the rows. Narrated Anas bin Malik, may Allah be pleased with him. Once the Iqamah was pronounced, and Allah's messengers, peace be upon him, faced us and said, straighten your rows and stand closer together, for I see you from behind my back. And I remember ankle to ankle, shoulder to shoulder, and I remember how sad it was when people had a social distance. Chapter 73, the first row. Narrated Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, martyrs are those who die because of drowning, plague, and abdominal disease, or being buried alive by a falling building. That's a very important one for the people of Palestine, our brothers and sisters there, because they're being buried alive by its falling buildings. And then he added, if the people knew the reward for Dhuhr prayer in its early time, they would race for it. If they knew the reward for the Isha and the Fajr prayers in congregation, they would join them, even if they had to crawl. If they knew the reward for the first row, they would draw lots for it. Chapter 74. The straightening of the rows is amongst those obligatory and good things which make your as-salah, the prayer, a correct and perfect one. Narrated Abu Hurairah, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, the Imam is appointed to be followed, so do not differ from him. Bow when he bows, and say, Rabbana lakal hamd, if he says, Sami'a lahu liman hamidah, and if he prostrate after him, and if he offers salah prayer sitting, offer salah sitting altogether, and straighten the rows for salah, as the straightening of the rows is amongst those things which make your salah a correct and perfect one. Beautiful. Okay, let's put a little star next to that one. Straighten the rows, follow the Imam, if he sits, sit. Narrated Anas bin Malik, may Allah be pleased with him, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, straighten your rows, as the straightening of rows is essential for Iqamah as-salah, a perfect and correct prayer. Chapter 75. The sin of a person who does not complete the rows, who is out of alignment for the prayer. Out of alignment. Narrated Anas bin Malik, may Allah be pleased with him, I arrived at Al-Madinah and was asked whether I found any change since the days of Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him. I said, I have not found any change except that you do not straighten the rows for the Salah prayer, i.e., you do not stand in alignment in your Salah. Chapter 76. To stand shoulder to shoulder and foot to foot in the row exactly. And Numayn bin Bashir said, I saw that every one of us used to put his heels with the heel of his companion. Yes, ankle to ankle. MashaAllah. Rows, ankles. Narrated Anas bin Malik, may Allah be pleased with him. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, Straighten your rows, for I see you from behind my back. Anas added, Every one of us used to put his shoulder with the shoulder of his companion, and his foot with the foot of his companion. See, you can see the closeness. It's not like, you get away from me, you're my space. It's like fascinating. I've never prayed in a masjid. I only went to the masjid once in the beginning. I have a little tot, so I'm not able to go pray because my youngest is not able to hold still. But I don't know if it's the same for women, if they stand foot to foot, shoulder to shoulder. But if it is, that's quite beautiful. Inshallah, when my children are a bit older, they'll be able to not be so distracted. Chapter 77. If a person stands by the left side of the Imam, and the Imam draws him to the right from behind, his Salah prayer is correct. Narrated Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, I offered Salah prayers with the Prophet, peace be upon him, one night, and stood on his left side. Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, caught hold of my head from behind and drew me to his right, then offered the Salah and slept. Later the Muadhin came, and the Prophet, peace be upon him, stood up for Salah without performing ablution. So he probably kept his wudu intact, right? Chapter 78. One woman can form a row. Narrated Anas bin Malik, may Allah be pleased with him. One night an orphan and I offered the prayers behind the Prophet, peace be upon him, in my house, and my mother Sulaym was standing behind us by herself, forming a row. Chapter 79. The right side of the mosque and the place to the right of the Imam. Narrated Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him. One night I stood to the left of the Prophet, peace be upon him, in the Salah prayer, but he caught hold of me by the hand or by the shoulder arm, till he made me stand on his right, and beckoned with his hand for me to go from behind him. Al-Kashmahini Fath al-Bari says at the end of that. Chapter 80. If there is a wall or a sutra between the Imam and followers. Al-Hasan said, there is no harm in offering Salah prayer if there is a river between you and the Imam. Abu Mijlaz said, one can follow the Imam even if there is a road or a wall between the Imam and followers, provide the takbir, Allahu Akbar, is audible. Narrated Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, used to offer Salah prayers in his room at night. As the wall of the room was short, low, the people saw him, and some of them stood up to follow him in the Salah prayer. In the morning, they spread the news. The following night, the Prophet, peace be upon him, stood for the Salah prayer, and the people followed him. This went on for 2 or 3 nights. Thereupon Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, did not stand for the Salah prayer the following night, and did not come out. In the morning, the people asked him about it. He, peace be upon him, replied that he was afraid that the night prayer might become compulsory. Chapter 81, the Night Prayer. Narrated Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her. The Prophet, peace be upon him, had a mat which he used to spread during the day and use as a curtain at night. So a number of people gathered at night, facing it, and offered salah prayers behind him. So here we have another example of the mat. Because people might wonder, hey, where did this mat come into play? And now we learn clearly that there's evidence for it. Narrated Zayd bin Thabit, and I'll be pleased with him. Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, made a small room in the month of Ramadan. Said said, I think that Zayd bin Thabit said that it was made of a mat, and he offered salah prayer there for a few nights. And so some of his companions offered prayers behind him. When he came to know about it, he kept on sitting. In the morning, he went out to them and said, I have seen and understood what you did. O people, you should offer salah prayer in your houses, for the best salah prayer of a person is that which he offers in his house, except the compulsory congregational salah prayer. MashaAllah. Hedwig's on one of the sticks, and the gladiator's upside down and dangling and irritating Hedwig, which is kind of funny. Chapter 82. The necessity of saying the takbir, i.e. Allahu Akbar, Allah is the most great, and the commencement of as-salah, the prayer. Narrated Anas bin Malik al-Ansari, may Allah be pleased with him. Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, rode a horse and fell down, and the right side of his body was injured. On that day he offered one of the salah prayers sitting, and we also offered salah behind him, sitting. When the Prophet, peace be upon him, finished the salah with taslim, he said, the Imam is to be followed, and if he offered salah standing, then pray standing, and bow when he bows, and raise your heads when he raises his head. Prostrate when he prostrates, and if he says Sami Allahu liman hamida, you should say Rabbana wa lakal hamd. Narrated Anas bin Malik, may Allah be pleased with him. Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, fell from a horse and got injured. So he led the salah prayer sitting, and we also offered salah sitting. When he completed the salah, he said, the Imam is to be followed. If he says the takbir, then say the takbir. Bow if he bows. Raise your heads when he raises his head. When he says Sami Allahu liman hamida, say Rabbana lakal hamd, and prostrate when he prostrates. Narrated Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, the Imam is to be followed. Say the takbir when he says it. Bow if he bows. If he says Sami Allahu liman hamida, say Rabbana wa lakal hamd. Prostrate if he prostrates, and pray sitting altogether if he offers the salah sitting. Okay, we definitely get to see more of how it's okay to sit. If someone's feeling ill or something like that, or they're injured, you got some leeway there. Chapter 83. To raise both hands on saying the first takbir simultaneously with opening the salah prayer. Narrated Salim bin Abdullah, my father said, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, used to raise both his hands up to the level of his shoulders when opening as-salah, the prayer, and on saying the takbir for bowing, and on raising up his head from bowing, he used to do the same, and then say Sami Allahu liman hamida, Rabbana wa lakal hamd. And he did not do that, i.e. raising his hands in prostrations. Chapter 84. To raise both his hands while saying takbir on opening as-salah, the prayer, and while bowing, and on raising up the head after bowing. Narrated Abdullah bin Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, I saw that whenever Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, stood for the salah prayer, he used to raise both his hands up to the shoulders, and used to do the same on saying the takbir for bowing, and on raising up his head from it, and used to say, Sami Allahu liman hamida, but he did not do that, i.e. raising his hands in prostration. Narrated Abu Kilaba, I saw Malik bin Hurayth, may Allah be pleased with him, saying takbir and raising both his hands on starting as-salah, the prayer, and raising his hands on bowing, and also on raising up his head after bowing. Malik bin Hurayth said, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, did the same. Chapter 85. To what level should one raise one's hands? In the presence of his companions. Abu Humayd said, the Prophet, peace be upon him, raised his hands up to his shoulders. Narrated Abdullah bin Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, I saw Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, opening as-salah, the prayer, with the takbir, and raising his hands to the level of his shoulders, at the time of saying the takbir, and at the time of saying the takbir, and on saying the takbir for bowing, he did the same. And when he said, Sami Allahu liman hamida, he did the same, and then said, Rabbana wa lakal hamd, but he did not do the same on prostrating and on raising up the head from it. Chapter 86. To raise one's hands after finishing the second rak'ah on standing for the third rak'ah. Narrated Nafi, whenever Ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, started as-salah, the prayer, with takbir, he used to raise his hands. Whenever he bowed, he used to raise his hands before bowing, and also used to raise his hands on saying Sami Allahu liman hamida. And he used to do the same on rising from the second rak'ah for the third rak'ah. Ibn Umar said, the Prophet, peace be upon him, used to do the same. MashaAllah. To place the right hand on the left in as-salah, the prayers. Narrated Sahih bin Sa'd, may Allah be pleased with him, the people were ordered to place the right hand on the left forearm in as-salah, the prayer. Abu Hazim said, I knew that the order was from the Prophet, peace be upon him. So in case you're wondering, like, I do that, but in case you're wondering, we have a hadith now. It says, like, you're supposed to do that. Chapter 88. Submissiveness in as-salah, the prayer. Narrated Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said, you see me facing the Qibla, but Allah... Narrated Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, said, you see me facing the Qibla, but by Allah, nothing is hidden from me regarding your bowings and submissiveness, and I see you from behind my back. Narrated Anas bin Malik, may Allah be pleased with him, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, perform the bowing and the prostrations properly in a correct and perfect way. By Allah, I see you from behind me or from behind my back when you bow or prostrate. Chapter 89. What to say after the takbir. Narrated Anas bin Malik, may Allah be pleased with him, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, Abu Bakr and Umar, may Allah be pleased with them both, used to start as-salah, the prayer, with Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, all praises and thanks be to Allah, the Lord of the Alameen, mankind, jinn, and all that exists. Narrated Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him. Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, used to keep silent between the takbir and the recitation of the Quran, Surah Al-Fatiha, and that interval of silence used to be a short one. I said to the Prophet, may my parents be sacrificed for you. What do you say in the pause between takbir and recitation? The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, I say, Allahumma bayni wa bayna khatayaya kama ba'adta bayna al-mashriqi wal-maghrib. Allahumma naqqini min khatayaya kama yunaqqa thawbul abyadu min ad-danas. Allahumma aghsil khatayaya bil ma'i wa thalji wal barad. O Allah, set me apart from my sins felt as the east and west are set apart from each other, and clean me from the sins as a white garment is cleaned of dirt after thorough washing. O Allah, wash off my sins with water, snow, and hail. Alright, that's a short pause, but he's able to do that kind of recitation in it. Fascinating. Narrated Asma bint Abi Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him. Wait, Asma is a girl, bint, okay. Narrated Asma bint Abi Bakr, may Allah be pleased with her. The Prophet, peace be upon him, once offered the eclipse salah prayer. He stood for a long time and then did a prolonged bowing. He stood up straight again and kept on standing for a long time, then bowed, a long bowing, and then stood up straight, and then prostrated, a prolonged prostration, and then lifted his head and prostrated, a prolonged prostration. And then he stood up for a long time, and then did a prolonged bowing, and then stood up straight again, and kept on standing for a long time. Then he bowed a long bowing, and then he stood up straight, and then prostrated, a prolonged prostration, and then lifted his head and went for a prolonged prostration. On completion of the salah, he said, Paradise became so near to me that if I had dared, I would have plucked one of its bunches for you, and hell became so near to me that I said, O my Lord, will I be among those people? Then suddenly I saw a woman, and a cat was lacerating her with its claws. On inquiring, it was said that the woman had imprisoned the cat till it died of starvation, and she neither fed it nor freed it so that it could feed itself from the insects, vermin, and creatures of earth. This one is very important because some people do that, and this is so important because it's not just that you'll be punished for what you did to cats, but you'll be punished for what you did to the animals in general. I've seen a lot of animal rescue videos, and people who have horses, and those little horses are like skin and bones, really upsets me. Or they have a dog that is constantly just tied with a very short lead to something. There's going to be a special place in hell for people who just arbitrarily do things to animals. It's quite horrible. I liked seeing animals eat. It's like ASMR. I even subscribe to a channel where there's a dog. Bounce the pit bull, I think is his name. And he eats like a lot of raw meat, raw eggs, chicken feet. And it's a really nice sound. Because I grew up with dogs. And I like watching them eat. And I'd like my guinea pigs when they passed away. But they used to eat nice grasses. I'd feed them Timothy hay. Watching them eat, I'd give them corn. And then with my birds, I'll give them millet and stuff. And then they'll eat. And it's very relaxing. you know, people also like watching humans eat. You know, there's mukbang, but I don't know how you could see a little animal and then not want to see it get nice and healthy and strong. I feel like, you know, when you have a pet, you want it to be as healthy and vibrant as you can possibly make it. That's part of the joy of having it. And little cats, like, but then that's why you should not declaw them. Declawing is really inhumane, because if you don't want the cat, there's shelters, but let's say you're a moron and you just let it go. There's cats who are pretty tough and they'll be fine on their own if they live in an area with lots of vermin, you know. I see lots of outdoor cats. They're indoor and outdoor. Like, you have to be careful what community you live in, though, because some people torture cats. But if you live by like a forest and there's just natural mice, rats, whatever, birds, cats, go have some fun. So, in an environment, like if your cat's in a city, it's gonna be much harder. You know, cars, and that's terrible. But if there's actual nature, you know, cats can climb up trees and get squirrels and stuff. Chapter 91. To cast a look at the Imam during as-salah, the prayer. Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, said, the Prophet, peace be upon him, was narrating about the salah prayer of eclipse and said, I saw hell, and one of its side was destroying the other, and that was when you saw me retreating during the salah. Narrated Abu Mamar, we asked Habab, may Allah be pleased with him, whether Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, used to recite the Quran in the Duhur and the Asr prayers. He replied in the affirmative. We said, how did you come to know about it? He said, by the movement of his beard. Oh, interesting. Because the chin, like when you're doing stuff? MashaAllah. Narrated Al-Bara, and Al-Bara was not a liar, when we offered salah prayer with the Prophet, peace be upon him, and he raised up his head from the bowing. We used to remain standing till we saw him prostrating. Yeah, because the Imam is to be followed. We're memorizing that. Narrated Abdullah bin Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him. Once solar eclipse occurred during the lifetime of Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him. He offered the eclipse salah prayer. His companions asked, O Allah's Messenger, we saw you trying to take something while standing at your place, and then we saw you retreating. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, I was shown paradise and wanted to have a bunch of fruit from it. Had I taken it, you would have eaten from it as long as the world remains. Well, here that gives us a sign that there's a wonderful fruit in paradise. Narrated Anas bin Malik, may Allah be pleased with him. We've had quite a lot of hadiths from him today. The Prophet, peace be upon him, led us and offered salah prayer. Then he went up to the pulpit and beckoned with both hands towards the Qibla and the mosque and said, when I started leading you in salah, I saw paradise and hell displayed on the wall of the mosque facing the Qibla. I never saw such a good and bad thing as I saw today. He repeated the last statement thrice. I never saw such a good and bad thing as I saw today. I never saw such a good and bad thing as I saw today. I never saw such a good and bad thing as I saw today. So 3 times repetition is a common thing. When someone repeats something like that, I don't get irritated. But there are some content creators, because they repeat, and that's something you always have to watch out with sophists, is that their repetition is done to sort of hypnosis, whereas our repetition is done as to belay the point, to really solidify the point, and that's a fantastic thing. Okay, fam, we'll pause here. Okay, and I hope you enjoyed. We're getting close to the end here. You know, we're getting real close. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Thank you for everyone who watches. I hope you listen to this as you're doing your chores, you're on your commute, riding your bike, whatever fun thing it is that you're doing. If you'd like to support my work and read more about what I write, you can go to my blog, which is www.subscribestar.com/MilhanArchive. Hope to see you there.